welcome. Thank you all very much for joining us tonight. It's a beautiful sunny evening here in Belfast, and it'll be a lovely day for the garden, a lovely evening for the garden. So thank you very much for joining us. We're doing these live webinars to give you the opportunity to ask any questions, to hear more about small grants, and hopefully to generate some project ideas and any queries you have whatsoever you can ask. We are recording tonight's webinar, so you can put your camera off if you want. If, like myself, you're waiting for the hairdressers to open and you don't want to be seen on camera, you can switch your camera off. You will be muted right to the very end when we will unmute if you would like to ask a live question. At the end, you can put your hand up and ask any question that we haven't answered up until now. So we have a few very quick Zoom rules to start. And as I say, the session is being recorded and it will be available after if anybody wants to listen to it again. If you enjoyed it that much, or if you just want to go over it again. You have been muted. There's a little chat function at the bottom. We've all got a bit more used to Zoom now. Any question as we go along, excuse me, please do ask. Type it in and one of us will endeavour to answer your question. And at the end, we will have a live question and answer session. So if there's anything that we haven't answered already, we will certainly endeavour to answer your question. So you can do that live at the end. And you seem like a lively bunch, so that could get quite exciting. At the end of this session, you will know more about Live Here, Love Here. So we're going to do a brief introduction of who we are. Seeing some of the names coming in earlier on, some of you know us very well, and some of you will be new to this, but you're all very welcome. You will know more about our small grant scheme and how to apply. We'll go through some project ideas and some case studies, and you'll have your own ideas and you can think about those as we go through it and how it fits with the criteria. And at the end, we will go through the application process. It's all online, and Karina's going to run through that at the end so that you can understand, particularly if you haven't done it before, or if you have done it before, it'll be a year since you've done it and you might need a little refresher. So we're going to run through that at the end. And then if we haven't answered your question, you're very welcome to ask us at the very end, so that you leave here knowing what you need to do to make a winning application, excuse me. So Live Here, Love Here. Live Here, Love Here is part of Keep Northern Ireland Beautiful. We are one of the flagship projects along with EcoSkills. And this is Northern Ireland's largest community and civic pride campaign. So we believe that people should love where they live, and where you live goes beyond your front door. And when you travel to and from your home, we would endeavour that you are proud to live where you love where you live, and that you have a little bit of pride in the area, and that you know people in your community and that you get engaged with your community. We like to empower communities to make change. This is not about us coming in and making changes in your community. The ideas have to come from yourselves. They have to be backed by your community, and they have to be community led. So it's all about you and what your plans are. We are here to motivate and empower volunteers to create a clean, green, safe and sustainable Northern Ireland. And this is a theme that will go throughout all the applications and all the projects to the Live Here, Love Here small grant scheme. And also along with that is that all the projects that you're thinking of and you've come here tonight to try and see how you can get funding for, they should tackle issues such as biodiversity recovery, climate action, litter and pollution. So there has been quite a bit of damage done to the environment, and we're all living with the impacts of that because of the environmental emergency. And the work that we do is trying to combat that and use people power to try and make our place a bit greener to live. So that's a kind of a quick background, a very, very quick bit of Live Here, Love Here. The small grant scheme is funded by 10 of the 11 councils. So 10 of the 11 councils actively support Live Here, Love Here, and they're absolute fantastic support for us. The one that's missing, if you're trying to work out which one it is Causeway Coast and Glens. So they don't support the project, but if you're from that council area and you're in a housing executive area, you can still apply. So the housing executive is our 11th partner, and there's a separate pot of funding for projects that are in housing executive areas. So if you're in the Causeway Coast and Glens area and you're housing executive, you can apply. If you're outside a housing executive, unfortunately, there's not an opportunity to apply. So we just want to tell you that up front in case you're from that area. So the applications are live at the moment, and they opened up on Monday. We had our first application 40 minutes after it opened, which we believe is a record, which is fantastic. No, you don't need to rush it once. They are all open until the 10th of May. So you've plenty of time to get your application together, to get it agreed with your community group, and to get it in by the 10th of May. So I'm going to hand you over to Nicola. Nicola is our small grant scheme guru. Some of you will know her, and Nicola is going to talk you through some ideas and the process for applying.
Thank you, Helen. So yeah, this is really why we're all here tonight. We're here to learn a wee bit more about the small grant scheme. So the Live Here, Love Here small grant scheme is an incredible opportunity for local communities to apply for a grant between £500 to £3,000. These grants are designed to improve your local environment and promote a cleaner, greener and safer place to live. So over the years, since we've been delivering the small grant scheme, we have calculated it out that the average grant is around £1,200. And this year we launched the grants on Monday, so that was launched on the 12th of April. And the closing date for the applications will be Monday the 10th of May at 12 noon. And as we have done in the past few years, it's an online application process. So why should you apply to Live Here, Love Here? So we have had feedback from past applicants, and many of them have told us that the online application process is easy to follow. There's great support from the Live Here, Love Here staff. And the grant claim process is also very straightforward. So that's great news. And we hope that that's something that will inspire you to put in a wee application. So the small grant scheme will make funding available to groups to deliver environmental projects for and with communities. So community groups understand the support needs of their communities best, and inspiring community efforts at a local level will be vital for resilience and recovery during this very challenging time. And it fits with the ethos and spirit of the Live Here, Love Here programme. So where people and communities have solutions or ideas, we want to hear from you. So the small grant scheme is it's very wide for who it's open to, and we want to be able to support as many groups as possible. So we have opened the scheme up to all types of community groups. So whether that's unconstituted or constituted or newly formed groups or collective groups of individuals who have come together to deliver a project, we welcome you to the scheme. So volunteer and community groups, all schools and third level education organisations, youth groups and sports clubs, not-for-profit organisations, and applications are particularly welcome from groups who have not previously received support through the small grant scheme. And we also love to see returning applicants. So what are we looking for? So this colourful slide is very positive, and we kind of feel like this kind of shows what the small grant scheme is all about. So we want to see projects that will deliver a positive environmental impact, projects that will create partnerships, that will enhance civic pride, projects that show innovation, projects that show ownership of local areas, collaboration, whether that be between different groups, with local charities, with different businesses, and projects that will improve health and well-being, biodiversity enhancement projects, community growing, and projects that go beyond your natural boundaries, and just inspiring communities and projects that are really inspiring. So proposed projects must engage volunteers and community groups to deliver practical action and must meet one or more of the Live Here, Love Here small grant scheme objectives. So the Live Here, Love Here objectives, we'll read through them, and just bear in mind that information that we will be covering here and that I will quickly be going through is all available in the guidance notes. So don't be worrying if you're trying to keep up or take notes. We will be able to share the documents with you afterwards. But so the Live Here, Love Here objectives are to contribute to the development of civic pride within a community with a focus on environmental improvement, to encourage actions and projects that enable pollution solutions, biodiversity recovery and climate action, to enhance the environmental management of local areas, to improve the health and well-being of communities whilst helping to improve and or maintain public spaces, to improve the quality of the local environment by reducing littering and dogfouling through community action, to support environmentally focused actions that help support people impacted through reduced contact with society, and community food growing initiatives. So as Helen touched upon earlier, Keep Northern Ireland Beautiful have recently launched a new strategy, and our core themes of work will fall under the categories of pollution solutions, climate action and biodiversity recovery. So we would really love to see projects come through the small grant scheme that might touch upon these themes. And overall, we just want to see that the projects involve the wider community. So in the guidance notes, there is more information about what these three themes mean and how they can relate to your projects. So as we know, life isn't quite back to normal yet. So we're still impacted by COVID, and it looks like social distancing might be something that we have to learn to live and work with. So we would advise applicants to remain up to date with national guidance on social distancing and actions to stay safe. And we would need to see that these are integrated within your projects and that your projects can be delivered safely. So some small grant scheme project ideas. We'll let them bounce in. So projects aimed at building skills of volunteers, projects that can engage the hard to reach, such as youth, projects that will develop partnership working, projects that will transform neglected spaces, projects to recruit new volunteers, materials, equipment for environmental projects, projects that engage all communities, and environmental opportunities to contribute to health and well-being. So whilst we do like to fund as much as we possibly can for groups, we can't fund everything. So this is like the one negative slide that we do have. And it's one that we don't really enjoy going through, but we need to cover these topics so that you don't put your time and effort into your application and maybe some of the things are ineligible for funding. So I'll just read through these. So we cannot fund project running costs such as salaries, insurance, mileage, office overheads, and rent. So we can't fund non-environmental interests such as party political activities, the promotion of religion. We don't fund costs for events such as holiday schemes, parties, catering, and volunteer expenses. We have introduced a limit to the amount of funding that we can provide for professional fees. So that will be up to 50% of an awarded grant. We don't fund structures requiring maintenance from a local authority. So this could be something like on-street dog bins and recycling facilities. So if you do have a project with this focus in mind, we would encourage you to either contact us or contact your local council, and we can possibly work together to see if this is something that could be introduced. It's something that the councils don't really aren't able to fund through the small grant scheme, as it's something that needs to work into their working regimes. We cannot fund items that will not be stored within a community facility. So this could be something like, if your group is to purchase some high value items such as a lawnmower, and it was designed for community use. If it's going to be stored in one person's garage, we need to see that there is going to be appropriate access for all members of the group to use whenever it's needed, and that it will benefit the wider community and the whole project. So we don't fund murals, arts and crafts projects. We don't fund literature and leaflets. We cannot fund administration or project management fees. And we cannot fund items of clothing. So that would be items of clothing such as branded t-shirts, hats, and items like that. And the small grant scheme cannot act as match funding for other funded projects that you might have received. So we'll now go into some case studies, and these are some, this is some like ideas that you might want to take inspiration from. And these are just some projects that we have seen come to life in the past year. So the Greater Village Regeneration Trust. So this local area was used as a dog toilet, and therefore it was parents were unable to allow their children out to play, and because of the fear of them getting contaminated or becoming sick. So they received funding for a project to tackle and highlight the levels of dog fouling in the community, and to provide local people with grow your own packs from the comfort of their own home to tackle biodiversity loss. So to tackle the dog fouling, it targeted the Village Green and Blythefield Park areas, and they used dog fouling stencils and stickers placed in the local surrounding streets. The project gave a great overall splash of colour to the community, and it brought a smile to people's faces when they received their grow your own packs. People were excited to see what was in the containers. And the project has brought a common focus to some of the streets within the village, and it's helping with social isolation. Another great project was the Simon community, and they're based in the Saintfield Road. Their facility provides 24/7 support for 22 individuals experiencing homelessness, some with addiction and or mental health needs. So the group discussed the benefits that a wellness garden would bring, especially what would be especially important during a pandemic when society was asked to stay at home and these clients only had 4 walls of their bedroom to themselves. In the summer of 2020, the Saintfield Road Nature and Wellness Sanctuary was established, consisting of an allotment area and polytunnel. The Nature and Wellness Sanctuary offers a welcome space for all living in the facility, and it's open to people who would volunteer or visit the charity Saintfield Road project. So far, the space has seen a reduction in social isolation and loneliness. Clients have developed new skills alongside increased confidence and an improvement in physical activity and mental well-being, and increased awareness on the world around them with biodiversity, sustainability and environmental regeneration. This next project, the New Mills Wildlife Gardening Club. So this project has strengthened the local community commitment for looking after the local environment by helping the group to develop new activities. So these activities included a series of talks on herbs, insects and homes for wildlife. They successfully developed a communal herb garden for the community to use and learn from. And they established a lavender avenue to provide food for pollinators. They designed and constructed a large mini beast mansion in their community garden, and it really was huge. And during the summer, the youth of the village were beginning to cause some antisocial issues. And rather than alienate them, the group used their pent-up energy of the youth for positive actions. They got them out working in the garden. And by engaging with the young people, it gave the lads a sense of ownership of the space as a place that they could also use. So it was a way of turning something negative into something positive. And then finally, we've got the Ballymacnab Live Here, Love Here. So these are words from the applicants themselves. There's not a day that goes by that the impact of this project isn't felt. The project has empowered the children of the local area to take ownership of their environment by planting flowers and vegetables and taking more notice of nature through the bird boxes and wildflower pollinator patches. It all has a cumulative effect and will be felt for years to come. So knowledge of growing vegetables and a pre-plastic world is shared between the grandparents and the younger generation. Life can exist without plastic. It did before, so we can do it again. There have been so many spin-off benefits and positive outcomes despite what has been a very difficult year for many, growing as a group in terms of numbers and volunteers and experience. Social media and WhatsApp have been indispensable for getting the Live Here, Love Here message out to the community and further afield. And there can be no doubt that the project has had a multitude of benefits, and in terms of mental and physical health and reducing social isolation during lockdown. There are now 5 new local beekeepers who are hoping to start out a beekeeping course in the coming year, onwards and upwards. So I will now pass over to Karina, who will take you through how to make an online application.
Thanks, Nicola. So firstly, you're going to go to liveherelovehere.org/small grant scheme. On this page, then you'll see the button at the side that says apply now. If you are using a mobile, use it in landscape mode. And these little tabs will appear at the top of your page. It is better if you can use a laptop or a computer, but it will work if you use on a mobile if you use it in landscape. So then this will then bring you to the apply now page. So if it's your first time applying, you'll need to create a profile. So you want to click this first link here, and this will bring you to this page here to register your details. This profile you can use to register for a small grant scheme, adopt a spot applications, and add any events. And then you might have, for example, cleanup events, you can register the number of volunteers, how many bags of litter you've collected, and so on. Make sure that your email address is accessible all times, and that you're able to gain access to it at any time of the year. Make sure your password is one that you remember as well. I know we've all got tons of passwords that we have to remember, if you forget, that's okay. We'll be able to help you out, but try and make it something that's memorable. If you've already created a profile on our page, or you've applied for one of our other programs, click the second link and click here to log in. And that'll bring you to this page here. You just use your usual username and password. So once you log in, go to My Profile, and this will bring you to your control panel. Across the top, you'll see all your grey tabs. You can add a new event, see your profile. You can see your cleanup results and stuff there as well. And then there'll be a tab there for small grants apps. This will bring you to this page, so you can click here to make a new application. On this page, you'll see all the applications that you have live. And if you have a couple of applications, you can see these here. So you can click to make a new application, or you can click to view a saved application. Now onto the application form. The application form will auto-save. There isn't a save button, and it will do it for you. You don't have to complete it all in one session. You can go back to it at any stage. And once you completed the entire application, you'll be able to submit your application, and it'll just be just above this progress bar here. There'll be a click to submit application button, and will appear. You'll not be able to do this until your application is 100%. If it's not 100%, it means there's something missing. So go through your application form, make sure you filled everything in. So yeah, next one is, and then just complete your application details. This section, you can tell us a little bit more about your group. So tell us if your group's constituted. I saw in the chat there that some people were asking, can non-constituted groups apply? And you can. It just means that we will be able to use a personal account and we'll do site visits after. This section here is very important. It's important to make sure that your group is insured for your activities with public liability insurance. If you need a bit more about that, there's some information about that in the guidance notes. But if you need any more assistance with that, please let us know and we'll guide you in the right direction. Project details. Here you can add your lovely project title, like Frog Garden in Nicola's example. You can give a brief description about your project location. This just helps us if we have to do a site visit so we can know where to find us and what kind of area it's in. The map here will auto-populate to the postcode that you have in the application applicant's details. So you just drag it to where your actual project site is. Oh, sorry. This section here says if your project, let us know if your project is located within the grounds of your organization. If it is, you need to let us know if your project will be open to the public outside of your normal working hours. So for example, a school or something like that. In this next section, just a few more details about where you are and then about permissions. So it's important to, if your project is located on land that is owned by a third party, that you gain permissions before you begin. This is really important, and if you haven't gained that, it can really hold up the application process. Tell us if you've previously received funding from us. This won't affect your application. It's just nice for us to know. Have you previously been involved in any of the programs as well? So Adopt a Spot, Big Swing Clean, or Clean Coast program. This section here looks long and daunting. It's not. The word count is very, very strict on each of these boxes. So make sure that you answer each of the questions really succinctly and get straight to the point. Tell us who it's benefiting, who's going to be involved, and why your project is needed. This section here at the bottom here says, how does your project meet the objectives? This bit here in green is a link through. So if you haven't read the guidance notes before then, there will be a link there to see the objectives again. And then just let us know how many people involved, your different partners, and how in the project delivery. As Nicola said before, let us know how you're going to maintain social distancing and government guidelines in line with government guidelines. As we know, things are looking brighter. Things are definitely looking a lot more positive, but I think we all know from looking at the news and things that the restrictions are going to continue in the future. So let us know how you'll be able to do that and how your project, is there an alternative way that your project can be delivered? Let us know how far your project is led by volunteers. We want to see volunteers trained, upskilled, and supported to benefit your community for future generations. So it doesn't have to be just hard skills like certificates or training, but those soft skills as well, those team building, the leadership and time management skills. Legacy is really important as well for this application. Let us know how your project will benefit your community for generations to come and in the long term. Next section is project costs. So it's important here to be as detailed as you can. So instead of at the top saying materials £2,000, make sure that you break it down into, wood for planters 70, peat recompost 50, apple trees 100, fruit bushes 80. The grants are quite often oversubscribed, so you may be required to scale down your project. So the more detail you provide for us, that's easier for us to do when it comes to judging. So you may be asked to take off the compost, but you'll get the apple trees and fruit bushes. Let us know what contribution, if any, you are making to your project in terms of additional funding and the value of your volunteer days as well. Last section is terms and conditions. Tell us how you heard about us. Make sure that you read through each of these different required sections that you have, tick them all off. If you haven't ticked any of these required boxes, your progress bar will not go to 100%, and you'll not be able to submit your application. So once this goes to 100%, it'll appear at the bottom and at the top, as I said earlier, and you can click here to submit your application. So thank you all for listening tonight. If you have any questions, please use the chat box, or if you'd like to ask a question live, use the little raise your hand function on Zoom. If anybody has to shit on, you can also contact us at smallgrants@liveherelochere.org at any stage of the application process, and the closing date is the 10th of May. So good luck, and over to you.
Nicola, one of the questions has been about access and public access to do with schools and churches. So do you just want to say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so whenever projects are in places such as schools or sports grounds or churches, we like to see that the applicant will demonstrate exactly where the wider community will be involved and where the wider community will benefit from the project. So we understand that there may be times whenever like there's limited access to the grounds from the general public, but we like to see that there has also been consideration given to welcome the other members of the public, so such as open days, maybe weekend activities where people can come and get involved. Do you think that has covered it, Helen?
Yeah, it doesn't need to be 24-hour access. It doesn't need to be open to the public all the time, just as long as applicants can demonstrate that the community is welcome in, even if it's for events. So that's absolutely fine. Yeah, I think that answers the question.
But also we do like to see, like, the increased use of places like that, maybe outside the conventional and traditional hours. So there are lots of schools out there that have great school gardens and polytunnels, but then whenever the pupils are away during the summertime, that's whenever, like, most of the crop would be needing harvested, but there's maybe limited pupil activity. So we would really love to see projects that might open it up to communities to get involved at those times of the year.
Absolutely. We have a good question here from Arnold, who has asked if you've adopted a spot, can a grant be applied for? And Arnold, we would encourage you, absolutely, if you've gone through the Adopt a Spot program, to apply for a small grant. So yes, absolutely, please do. You're very welcome. Anybody who has adopted a spot or is on our waiting list. So yes.
With hands up as well. So if we maybe go to some of those. So
yeah, go for it.
Spot first, Shelley McCord, if that's okay.
Yep, thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. What I was wanting to ask is if you want to develop a space, I'm looking on behalf of the PTA, and we're looking at a space on the street at the end of the school is. How would you find out who sort of owns that land, or how would we go about sort of permission wise or developing it?
Yeah. My first point of call would be to contact the local council. Contact the council to see if they can give a bit of help with that. So if you do have any questions, you can contact us and we can maybe point you in the right direction of maybe who we think would be most appropriate in the council. And then they, like, they do all have like planning teams, so I imagine that's what part of their work
Team.
to help with. But then sometimes it might go down to where the land might be owned by the housing executive or department for infrastructure. So you may then need to explore a little bit further.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much.
No problem. Okay, another person with their hand up is Melanie Maxwell. If you want to ask your question, you just might need to unmute yourself.
Mine was something similar to Shelley's previously. It was just about we have no outdoor space. It's not a community group or anything at the minute. So it was something along those lines about who do you contact. So that's answered me. Thank you.
Brilliant. Sometimes whenever groups have limited like outdoor space, then it's a good opportunity to think about innovatively. So sometimes rather than grow your community garden out and wide, some like projects might grow theirs vertically. So like if you have a building to think of something a wee bit different. Yeah. Maeve Nugent, you've also got your hand up there. Oh, we just need to unmute you.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, well, one quick question, and I have something else to ask you as well. Is the grant paid in advance or retrospective?
We can pay 80% of the grant up front,
Right,
and then
okay.
that gives you 80% of your funding to carry out your work. And then in most cases, the groups would then, be able to add on that remaining 20%.
Yeah, because we survive in a very tight budget. The other thing to be interested in, I did register with Live Here, Love Here, and our group done a couple of litter picks. And then the lockdown came, and we did one during lockdown, but what we did was we asked everybody who lived in our area, we contacted somebody on each individual road. It's a rural area that we have, a small village, but a rural area, and asked the people, to come out on their own road with their families and do social distancing. And then we arranged for them to drop the stuff off. Well, a few men said they would go around and lift the rubbish in vans, and the council came and lifted it, and it worked a treat. But we had to borrow litter picks from our council, and we got 100, and they were all used, but about 20 didn't come back. And then the council complained to me about, they said we can't. But it was really in the middle of the real lockdown, and I couldn't go around knocking people's doors asking them for the litter picks. I did put out messages and said, please return and whatever, but they sort of said it would affect us getting them again and all. And so I was wondering if we could actually apply for a grant for litter picks.
Yeah, that litter pickers could be something that could be funded. We do offer our Adopt a Spot program where groups can apply for up to 5 litter pickers. It is only a small.
Yes, we did get those a few. Yeah.
Then that if carrying out your big community-wide cleanups were something that the group was wanting to do, then it could make part of an application. Yeah
We had planned doing 3 per year, so that's good. I can consider that then.
I would suggest maybe if there were other parts, like if there was another element of the project, to include it all together, so maybe it's part of the project and not just a standalone project.
Okay. That's fine, thank you.
We'll go over to John McElroy. If you'd want to ask your question, John, you're just on mute there.
Yeah, I'm from the Slayman Sheds, and I've heard of your name, Nicola, and we've got the funding from the before, which started us off into maybe being aware of your what we do in our local communities. Now, the only question I need to find out is if you're collaborating with another local group, do they fill in an application, or is that under the one application?
I would suggest if you are going to be working together, it could just be put in as one application, and then one person in the group would take the lead on the project. Okay. And work together. And like a collaborative application would be something that we really would be excited to see. So that would be a good approach to take.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. Thanks, John. So Portia, you've got your hand up there as well. Yeah, over to Portia Woods. No, seems Portia, if you do still want to ask a question, just let us know in the chat and we can come over to you.
So there was a problem unmuting there. Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks very much. Everything was very informative. I just wanted to ask for some guidance in regards to insurance. Obviously, I don't want to go direct to an insurance broker because they will be very keen, obviously, to sell me insurance. But I just wanted to ask advice, what other groups have done in the past, really to be in line with getting our application in, or is there someone even outside of you guys this morning who are already established that could advise us on where to start that journey of looking at insurance for our volunteers?
Portia, I would recommend that you look at the TCV website, and that's the Conservation Volunteers, and they have a community network, and you can join the community network for free. And as a member of that, they can put you in touch with their insurance broker, who it's like an agreement they have with TCV, and it's for all the type of projects that we've talked about today, including litter picking. So it's quite specialized, and you can chat to them, and so you're not going cold calling to someone. And as I say, they have a special arrangement with the Conservation Volunteers to supply public liability insurance for this type of project. So I would start with them. And I think also the social farms and gardens folk, they also offer a network, insurance as part of their network. So you can try them. Theirs might be a little bit more specialized for food growing, I'm not sure. Whereas TCV would definitely cover the work that you're doing up there in Larne, all your good work. So if you want, I can send you a wee link straight after this, or I can see if I can. I'm not very good at popping stuff in chat, so I'll see if I can do it quickly, or
That's
I'll
nice.
send it out after. Okay.
That's really good. Thank you. Perfect.
Brilliant.
Thanks. Mary Henderson, you're there with your hand up as well.
Nope.
Oh.
Zoom's great, isn't it?
I know, I think I might have muted you again, actually, sorry.
I've just popped the link for TCV for the community network into the chat, by the way. So
Thanks, Helen.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Sorry about that.
Yes, sorry. Thank you. I can see, trying to get my head around the project, but I could see it as sort of a twofold. I'm with CIC company. I've just done it as a hobby over the years, but I would focus quite a bit on carers or the care receiver. So I focus on that there, and I write books. I've just launched a big training manual, and I've now got it on Zoom at CPD accredited. And it's only a 4-week 2-hour thing. So I can say training and skilling up care ambassadors for the local community. But I could maybe see this saying being the practical application of it. You know, it's okay skilling up and training people, whether it's through the youth or older people or whatever, and linking them on to our care home, our day centre, our church, networking in partnership with the community. So there's that wee small bit of the training, which is educational, but the like of this, I could say a wee group that are now trained to become a carers community forum, and then have this, the actual practical doing something. Do you know what I mean? Because I think physically doing something around their community. So it's a two-pronged kind of thing. Would that be, you know, I'm thinking that for some other groups within the community that they're wondering about it as well, you know?
Yeah, that definitely the practical action, that's where we're trying to make that with the like from the feedback from people who've been involved in projects, how they feel like getting out and doing something has been beneficial for them whenever they've been, you know, that's at caring for people or in isolation or just having their own health and well-being issues. So definitely the practical side of it.
I think the whole thing is addressing the whole mental health and well-being of carers who are locked down within their community, who cannot now go to support groups or whatever. But what can I include a bit of the training, say, for young people, their manual or their wee workbook, a wee bit of that, or is that a separate thing? But the bulk would be the practical now. But are we allowed to do that, or
you could include it in and as long as you can really like link the training side of it to the criteria of Live Here, Love Here. So how it would meet the objectives of Live Here, Love Here. I mean,
one actual course manual CBA is actually Time to Connect, which is it's a wee training workshop on connecting with your community. You know, I could isolate that one and make it so relevant for educating them, you know what I mean, and then going out to do the real practical.
It could be something that we haven't seen like something.
Okay.
So it could be if you connect it together to the objectives, then
and if I can't, Nicola, that's fine. I can take it separate. So thank you very much.
No problem.
Mary, I think that's a really good idea, because what we want to do is we want the projects to be sustainable, and that's why we've put in the kind of 50-50 on the project. The training and the project management fees is because you can apply for training and upskilling your volunteers is absolutely fine, because they're the people who are going to take the project further beyond just the creation, and then the rest of the money is for your actual practical project. So that sounds like it fits really well.
Oh, muted again.
Nicola, sorry, quick question that I'm not sure of. Christine Ritchie has asked about the dog violence stencils. Do you know where that group got those from?
I'm not sure where they did get them, but it's something that I know, like most, like say, what do we call it, like sign maker companies such as Black Sheep or print companies who would maybe print onto like plastics and acrylics and things. They can usually make items like that, but I can actually look into ask the group where they got them and pass those details on if that would be suitable.
Great.
There's a couple more hands up as well, so we'll go to Bridie McCullough if you're wanting to unmute yourself.
Hey, I just wondering about packs. I've been on the chat box and I've got my answers. We've done social farming. We've been in contact with social farming training. I was thinking my motive is getting children families to do growing their own vegetables in their own garden or back garden, and getting a polytunnel, you know, just that intervention with families now, you know, I think that'd be a good thing, get them to start to think about growing their own vegetables in the rural communities. Is that, you've done that before?
Yeah, but last year we did fund some projects because there was a lot of the social distancing and people, the stay-at-home message in place. So we did fund some projects of people working individually, but then like still together as the community. But if there were maybe some spaces within your community or your local area where people could grow things together, like shared vegetable beds or things like that, that would be fantastic to see as well. But if that is something that isn't possible, then maybe the growing individually but still together as a shared activity, it could be something that you could apply for. Yep.
It's just that we were all on Zoom through a social farming, and they've all started growing vegetables, and they've now WhatsApp group. It's that connecting people, learning from each other in the community as well through the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's brilliant. it's kind of nearly, if the one good thing that's maybe come out of the whole pandemic is that people have been able to connect more through different means, through Zooms and WhatsApps, and yeah, so there's been a positive there as well.
Right. Thank you.
Fantastic. We'll go over to Jerry Young.
Have you me unmuted?
That's you now.
You can hear me okay, dead on. It's Jerry Young, Ballyhorn Development Association. It's just my question was answered by the lady earlier, there, young lady. It was regarding insurance. Now, we wouldn't have a cover of insurance that runs through the year. Can a project get individual insurance for the one project? If you went to a broker, it's like mentioned the TVC.
What do you mean by a single project?
Say we applied for the grant for a project for this grant aid here. Can you get
Yes.
an insurance for that project only, or does it have to be a comprehensive insurance for the whole year?
Well, it would probably be for the whole year. You'd need to talk to the broker, but insurance, suppose generally you take it out and it is for the year. And it would cover all your activities. So, and not just the practical activities, but if you're putting in a polytunnel or doing some kind of improvements, it means any changes that you're making to the landscape. If somebody trips, slips or falls, they're also covered by that.
Yeah.
So, but I would chat with the broker and see what they advise.
Yes, that's grand. That's grand. Thank you.
And Jerry, thank you for calling me a young lady. That was very nice. Thank you.
Brilliant. We've got Diane Evans. Are you still wanting to ask a wee question?
Hi, sorry, yes, I'm from a primary school and we've just purchased a polytunnel, so we're looking at starting to grow some plants and vegetables. And I'm just wondering if we paired up with the local community playgroup who don't have an outside space, and if we were to invite them to come up and use the polytunnel, would that be funded?
That sounds like you know, partnership working, and it's involving another element in your community. So that would be something that would kind of be ticking the boxes of like, you know, you're involving others. Would there even be a way that you could like go further than that? Like, are there other like, is there any like old people's
Like a
home in
men's
the
shed?
local area?
There's an old people, yeah, there's an old people's home. If we were to invite them to use it or to teach us how to plant, or
definitely, we've had projects like that in the past, and there's actually been some really kind of wonderful ones like during the past year where maybe even the school has gone over to the old people's home and like had a bit of interaction through the windows with the members. So yeah, it's like people have been creative, and like, you know, definitely thinking outside the box kind of it's something that's quite appealing whenever it comes to judging of the projects.
yeah, even if we were to like make up planters and deliver them to the old people's home when we had the plants grew.
Something like that would be good. We do get a lot of like groups where people want to make up planters and deliver them off, but sometimes the planters can just be full of your primroses and pansies, where we do want to see things that are maybe a bit more sustainable, and sometimes like maybe even like growing vegetables or things like that, or something a wee bit different can be a bit more appealing. And even things that, like, you know, would be a bit more pollinator friendly, like, so I would definitely encourage like all groups to think along the more sustainable and pollinator friendly path.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you. I can't see any more hands up here. So unless there's any other questions that haven't been asked in the chat, because I know Karina and Helen have been busy getting back to everybody.
Just the last one, someone's asked there about the PowerPoint. So the PowerPoint will be, this is all, the session's recorded, so it will be put up on our YouTube page. And we'll also be doing an event or the same session tonight. So if there's any new questions that are asked, they'll be up on the there as well. And we will put the PowerPoint up on the website for download as well.
Yeah. I think we actually forgot to include it in the presentation, but we do have a wee document put together of frequently asked questions. So sometimes like you might have a question that somebody else has asked before. So it's available on the website to download. So we just ask that you maybe like check it out to see if there's any advice that you could download from the site before then coming through to us and contacting us. But like, you know, we definitely do try to be helpful, and if you do have any projects or things that you do want to discuss or get a bit of advice on, you can always contact either myself, Karina, or Helen.
I think as well, if you're on the YouTube channel, it might be worth looking at the Tales of the Times event, just checking it's up there, because the event we had 2 or 3 weeks ago, it gave examples of people who have applied for small grants and dropped a spot because people were asking about it, and the impact it's had on them and their environment. So it's good to watch it if you have time for ideas. So it's up on the YouTube channel as well, so feel free to watch it. That's great. And if there's any more questions. Fantastic. Okay, we're finished on time. That was very well timed. Thank you very much. You can tune in tonight again at 7 if you so wish. But as Karina said, this is available as a recording. It'll be up on the website along with any questions asked tonight. And anything else in the meantime, just give us a wee shout. And thank you all very much for attending. It was great to see you and great to hear from a lot of folks. So thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks all. Bye.
Definitely, if anybody does have any questions, if you want to like raise your hand and we can turn your microphones on.
Nicola, can I just jump in before you start with the questions? Just when, in particular, when you were presenting, there's a lot of chat about the council areas, and we had a lot of people on from Causeway Coast. And first of all, apologies because you've given up your evening to come and listen to us, and your project may not be suitable. Can I ask that you do email us anyway? Nicola, I don't know if you want to put up that email address again. It's just smallgrants@livehere.org. Get in touch with us anyway. We have been in touch with the council on several occasions. I don't think they've ever supported the project, have they, Nicola or Karina? No, they've never been a partner.
It's something that we're quite disappointed in, because, like, you know, there's some really fabulous groups up in the Causeway Coast and Glens area, and we would really love to be able to support you.
Yeah. Now we do have some alternatives, but they're a lot smaller than what you would get through small grants. So we do have the Adopt a Spot project, which is kits that we give out for litter lifting. The project's paused at the moment, just while we catch up on a bit of a backlog of stuff going out from our kits going out from last year. But we have new kits going out in probably the start of May for food growing, for rewilding, and for coastal, to measure coastal health. So that's something that you can still apply for if you're in that council area. But please contact us anyway. Please just, you know, don't leave disappointed. Give us a wee shout, and if you can help us lobby the council and give them hell for not supporting the project, then that your help would be great. So just to address that, because I don't want people to go away disappointed when they've joined us tonight. So thank you. I see you have questions there coming now.
Yeah. Okay, so who will go to first? We'll go to Dorothy Salter, if you want to unmute yourself.
We made a grant application last year, and one of the problems we had, and I don't know whether we'll continue to have it, was fulfilling the bit about getting 3 quotes for things that were above a certain amount, because we found it hard to get people to quote. And one of the things we're wanting to apply for is like a 3rd phase of something we've already done, and we'd want to use the same people for that bit of it that we need to get professional help with. Would we be able to get away without getting a quote again, or would we have to try and find people?
Well, we asked for quotes because like this is a funded scheme, so we
Yeah.
audited. So that's why we need to have the paper trail from the project. So we have last year we reduced our quote limits to for items over £300 needed a quote. And so if you have attempted to get quotes, so if you have evidence that you have maybe sent an email to start like your choice of suppliers, then we will be able to take that as that you have attempted to make a quote or to get.
So what we ended up with going with the person that the council had recommended to us.
Then if in the guidance notes, whenever you receive your grant, I think it does explain that if you can justify why you have chosen or why you may have not got the 3 quotes, then that kind of like letter of support is fine. You don't necessarily need to have your evidence of your quotes whenever you're making your grant application. It is to give you an educated guess, like, you know, of how much your items are going to cost, and you're not going to be either over budget or under budget whenever you're requesting your funding. So hopefully it shouldn't be, hopefully it isn't too much of a hindrance. And after you receive your funding, like I'm always here on the phone if you do have any like project specific questions, and we can always try to work to a solution.
I did ring you last year about the very same thing. Yeah, thank you.
Do you feel like that's answered it?
Yeah.
Thanks, Dorothy. Okay, well, we'll go to Edith McAdam next.
Hi, how are you? We have a small community group which has a garden at Eden Allotments, and we're doing some work there. And it's a garden for people to come really just relax and enjoy being out in the open. Perhaps they haven't got a garden or they've been ill. You touched briefly on public liability insurance. Now, we're just a new group and we don't have public liability. We sort of assumed that the Eden allotments would have insurance. Do we need public liability insurance to get the grant?
We don't check that groups have insurance in place. We take it on a level of trust, is what the group has told us in their application. And we recommend that you do have insurance in place for the project and for like any work that you're carrying out on your project site. I know that Helen has had some experience with insurance schemes, so she might want to jump in and give a wee bit more info.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Edith, if you're at Eden Allotments, are you working with Mid and East Antrim Council then? Are they aware of your work and are they supportive of your work? I mean, do you work with them?
We do indeed, yes.
I would check then with Marlena at the council to see if the work that you're doing would be covered by their insurance. And just check that with them first. It may or may not be, but just because you're on their site, they're ultimately, because you're as a council site, they're ultimately reliable for anything that you do on the site. So you may be covered, but I would chat to the council first. Just don't assume you are, but chat to them first. And then for anybody else interested in insurance, if you don't have insurance, I don't know if you've heard of the Conservation Volunteers. They have a community network, and you can join the community network for free, and then that gives you access to their insurance. So it's hard to give an estimate. I'll put a wee link in the chat. It's hard to put an estimate on the price because sometimes it depends on how often your group meet, what activities you're going to do. Somebody doing a one-off beach clean is going to be cheaper than somebody who's a group that wants to chainsaw and do some coppicing or felling. So but they give good value insurance for community groups for the specific work that you're doing. So I'll put a wee link in the chat, and then you can look up their community network. And if it's a food growing project, I believe the Social Farms and Gardens project, they also offer insurance through their network. So it's 2 different options you can look up because they're specifically for this type of environmental project.
Okay. Now we're just a garden, and the only work that's been done is the work that we're doing. We just want people to come and enjoy the garden. Certainly they can weed if they want to, but by no means no one's taken us up on that yet. They're just they're just coming to enjoy it. So that's where we're from. There are really only three of us, 3 volunteers.
Okay. Well, that's fine, because the project might, you know, people come and sit and watch for the first bit, and then they might get engaged and it might snowball, you know, and that's what you want. So it's fine starting off small like that. And then, you know, and part of this is about recruiting new volunteers. So, you know, that's absolutely fine. And I would imagine the work you're doing is fairly low risk. I mean, you may be out chainsawing, but Edith, I don't think you are. I'm not sure, but you know, I would say it's low risk, and it's like weeding and mostly maintenance. So for you, I would start and chat to the council and just check that you may be covered under theirs.
Okay, thanks for your help.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go over next to Andrew Trotter.
Hi, thank you very much. Really, we're part of a group called the Blackwater Community Barge Project. Principally, we're putting a boat on the River Blackwater that is accessible to disabled and differently abled people to get them onto the river. We are trying to develop the river itself. We have last year come across the entrance of the Blackwater to the Ulster Canal, which is basically a big brick structure where the original Ulster Canal came off the Blackwater. It's in need of a bit of renovation, as in it's been very badly overgrown now, which I must admit we have cleared a lot of the overgrowth away. But really what we'd like to do is replant the area, certainly to a certain extent, but actually more to install a lock gate back onto the entrance. Basically what we need is we need a JCB for maybe 2 or 3 days to clear the site, and then joinery to rebuild this lock gate. It is accessible to the public off the river at any time, day or night, but it's on the river. It's not actually accessible off land to this. Would that be a sort of thing that may be of interest to your organisation?
It sounds like something that might be maybe too big for the small grant scheme. That would it be something that would it need more than the £3,000? And also I would suggest be mindful that the average grant would be about £1,200.
Well, certainly £1,200 wouldn't be of any. I had it in my head that it'll cost £1,000 to prepare, £1,000 to put the gate up, and £1,000 to plant it out.
Yeah, that if maybe like the small grant scheme might be able to help support the planting element of the project. I'm just kind of thinking of that. I know there's a person in this call that probably has more knowledge working on the waterways than me. So Peter, I'm looking over at you, Peter Maxwell. Would you have any advice as to anything to say as well?
Andrew, if you can send me some sort of a private message or through Nicola, and we can talk on the phone, that'd be rather than keep everybody back here, because it may not be as straightforward as you're thinking.
No problem. I will. Sorry, who is that we're talking to?
That's Peter. He's from the Inland Waterway Association, the Newry Portadown branch.
Oh yes, I know Peter. All right, so yeah, I've come across him before, so I have. Well, we're part of the brand new Blackwater Waterways, Inland Waterways. That's sort of.
If only we were all together tonight to catch up and make connections. I'll put my email address in here. So Andrew, if you want to get in touch with me, and then we'll make a connection, and we'll possibly even then talk about the project just off.
Not a problem. That'll do. Okay.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you. Thanks for your input.
Okay, we'll move across to Ryan Harleen, if you still have a wee question.
Yep, I've got a couple of questions, but hopefully they're simple enough to answer. So my first would be, what would the time frame for when the project needs to be delivered be?
Yeah, so this year we have launched earlier and our closing date is earlier. So we are hoping to have our letters of offer out at a record early time of end of May. And so we would ask that projects are delivered between, so that would be between June and January. So the financial claims we would ask that they're in by, I think we've suggested the date of the 13th of January. And if your project, like, you know, if some of your like planting work or things haven't yet been delivered, that's fine. Like, you know, projects can be ongoing, but we just ask that the bulk of the financial claim is in early in 2022.
Awesome, cheers. And you said that the fund can't cover training costs, professional costs. Would that cover training for gardening and such like that?
Yeah, we can cover a percentage of training costs. So that sometimes we would get applications where 100% of the application is to get facilitators in to deliver training for projects and for groups. So this is where we want to then be able to kind of like reduce that money that is going directly out to a facilitator and to kind of encourage groups to maybe train, like use that training and like, you know, buy materials as well. And we also do have lots of like there's lots of really great resources on YouTube that are like free. We ran a series called Food for Thought, and it has a whole series of talks from the conservation volunteers about building your planters, about how to grow things. And so those things are there free of charge, and we do want as many people as possible to avail of those. But ultimately, like sometimes professionals are needed. So it could be like tree surgeons, or maybe delivering a workshop will have great, like, you know, widespread benefits to your project. So we're not saying it's not fully going to be funded, but we can fund towards some of it.
Great. And final question would be, probably this is in the description, but how, sorry, I'm quite new to funding. How would it be paid? Would it be upfront if we're successful, or a portion of it would be upfront and then another portion at the end?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and you know what, something that we should have included in the presentation possibly. With the small grant scheme, like, you know, we really do want to support groups, and we want to see you get your projects like started as soon as possible. So we can offer 80% of the funding to be paid up front. And whenever this is paid up front, then we ask that then, like, we kind of hope that the group can then find that remaining 20% then out of their own funds, and then we would reimburse that whenever the full financial claim is sent through to us. And I did notice in some of the chats as well that we were talking about unconstituted groups. So if you are like a newly formed unconstituted group, or if you're a group of individuals coming together to deliver a project and you don't yet have a bank account set up, we would ask that if one person would take the lead on the project, and that we would then be able to pay into one person's account, and then we would follow it up with a site visit just to verify that the project has been delivered.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
No problem. And we do try to be quite prompt whenever either the request for the 80% funding, or whenever you do submit your grant claims, we do try to be quite prompt to get the funding sent out to people.
Perfect. Sounds great. Thank you very much.
No problem. Okay, there's still a couple more with hands up. We'll go to Jennifer Hamilton. Did you have your hand up? Oh, you're just on mute there.
On mute. Am I off it now?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Okay, Nicola, I met you and your team leaders 2 years ago in South Tyrone and Dungannon when you did the launch of Live Here, Love Here. Unfortunately, the group I was working with them, volunteering with them, we were turned down, which was disappointing, because we had adopted a spot which was a forest. We'd done a lot of litter picks, And we have lobbied very hard with DAERA, so there's going to be a change now that the community will have more of an input into that area that we adopted. But I'm also dealing with another group, or working with another group now. It's a new group and we're already starting to look at environmental improvements. But what I wanted to know was, how do you make the assessment, or who sits on the assessment panel? Does the local councils have an input into the decision making?
Yeah, so as Helen showed earlier, sorry, the slide with our partners. So the majority of our partners are council, and one of them is Northern Ireland Housing Executive. So whenever we sit as a judging panel, there will be a representative from the council and from the funding partners. So yeah, it'll be the council and housing executive. So one representative from each of those. And then we also have, we bring in a panel of independent judges. So last year we had people with a background in like charity work in Northern Ireland, environmental work, people that have a background in funding, and also people who would have like a really good sound understanding of community activity. And I think on each day we had 6 individuals as part of the judging panel, and that would have been the mix of the majority of independents and the 1 or 2 people from the councils on each day.
Can I just ask you, do the people who sit on the assessment panel from the council, do they fill in a conflict of interest form in case some of the groups they're involved with actually apply for the grant aid?
Yeah, if as with all the judges, that if there is a conflict of interest that is raised and a person would then take themselves away from the judging process. Okay, that's fine. It's just I wanted to figure out how the decision making was made. Is there any other questions? I don't think there's any more at the moment, but if there is, Nicola, I'll maybe send you an email or something. Yeah, that's no problem. I have popped my email address into the chat there, so if you do want to just email me directly, that's no problem.
Okay, I just want to say as well, that wee group in Georgetown, the community group that were turned down, myself and Johnny Bush from Dawn Ahead set up an environmental group, and we entered the Ulster in Bloom and we won 2 awards.
Fantastic.
So, you know, there's still a lot of voluntary work still going on. You know, just because we were turned down, it didn't deter us. We still continued on with the love of the project, really.
That is really brilliant to hear. That it didn't deter you from, like, you know, still delivering your project. With the grant scheme, like it's a very competitive scheme for the pot of funding that we do have to give out, and in like most years, like I think last year we had 350 applications and we awarded 163 projects. So like there were a lot of projects, and people probably on this call as well who may have been disappointed, and but we just hope that we can support groups, and that's why we're delivering sessions like this tonight, to maybe give the ingredients to help them build positive and successful projects for this year.
Okay, Nicola, thank you very much. Thank you.
I think as well, Nicola, I'll just jump in and say that, and I don't have the figures in front of me, but you had the figures for the number of projects funded, but the amount of money requested last year and the year before compared to the amount of money that we have to give out from the partners, it is really heavily oversubscribed, and it's a hard decision, you know, who goes through and who's successful and who isn't. And it's good that you weren't deterred, but it's one of the reasons why this year we've reduced the amount that you can claim for to 3,000, because previously it was between 500 and 5,000, and as Nicola said in her presentation, the average grant awarded is 1,200. So even when people are successful, they can be disappointed because the amount of money is decreased. So we've decreased that so that, you know, people haven't got ideas of £5,000 bigger projects that they're just not going to get the funding for, and it means we can share it around a little bit more. So again, it's good if you're chatting to local councillors to lobby them, and you know, the more money councils put in, the more there is to go back out again. And a couple of councils this year have come through with more money, because they see the value of the project. And you know, the more, as I say, the more they put into the pot, the more projects we can support, and the more people and the more of their citizens in their council area, you know, can be engaged. So but yeah, but I'm glad to hear you went on to great achievements there. Well done, congratulations.
Well,
They're hard to get. The in bloom certificates are hard to get.
Yeah. But the thing is as well, Helen, within Mid Ulster Council area, the villages all started to help each other, to come and tell each other how to go about doing it and what to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, New Mills is a fantastic wee area as well, which I've worked in, and I've seen what they have done. And it, you know, if you just, when you move right through all the villages in the summertime, it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And they might compete against each other, but at the same time they help each other. And I think that Mid Ulster Council have seen the benefit of that. And I hope that they've put more money into it this time. But I'll certainly be lobbying, you know, the council, because it's a fantastic thing for the community.
Brilliant. Good. Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Katrina Gillespie, you've had your virtual hand up for a while now.
Yes. How are you? That was a great presentation. Thank you very much. I'm here on behalf of a school, primary school, but we no longer receive funding as we're a few years. Well, we have a lot of our children cycling to get them to park their bikes. Would that be something that might be successful in the application funding? We have a lot of parents. We're trying to reduce the pollution outside the gate, a lot of cars. So we're trying to encourage, we're just slightly outside Eglinton Village. So we're trying to encourage the children to cycle and scoot to school and less car traffic. Would that be something that could possibly, because we were turned down before for something, not with yourselves, but with another funding. And we just were wondering if schools are, because everything seems to be about growing and tidy villages and stuff rather than a school project.
Yeah. It's a nice idea of a project to encourage the healthy transport and travel and reducing your climate impact. So school projects
would it come in under, sorry, would it come in under health and well-being? That's what I was thinking. Could it fit under that umbrella?
I think that's where you could kind of target it, and definitely into the climate action, kind of thinking of those elements. However, with the grant scheme and with schools projects, but it's not just schools. If you think of like maybe church projects or sports clubs, where the projects are within the grounds of the organisation. So whether it's within the school grounds or within the sports club's grounds, this is where you need to really, really strongly discuss the benefits that it'll have to the wider community and how people will be able to access it or use it or benefit from it, perhaps whenever the school gates are closed. And I know those like the wee bike pods and scooter pods, like they're really fantastic. And it's something that I would imagine you wouldn't want to encourage misuse of them. So that's where they may be closed off and only accessible to the pupils.
We have a bike shed at the moment. Oh, I think I've lost.
I can hear it's a bit glitchy.
Hello. Sorry. Yeah, we have a school bike shed at the moment. It's just not, there's not enough. We've got increased the number of children cycling, so there's not enough room. If we were to think about putting a rack outside the school, would that have a greater chance of receiving the funding? Because although we are outside the village and people actually walk down past the school and across the bridge, across the dual carriageway for walks, so they don't actually park their bikes as such. The community wouldn't really use that as a bike parking place as such. But if we were to think about putting it outside the school, it would have a greater chance.
Yeah, I would suggest that. I would suggest that it would definitely have more of a chance, because then it's kind of more of a community asset than just a school asset.
Yeah, we wouldn't worry too much about vandalism during the school day because it's a dead end, so it's really a closed area for us. during the day it would be evening time, but the children's bikes would be away. So it would be best for us to go for an outside one rather than going for inside.
It would, yep. But again, I would definitely think about how you link the project through to the objectives and the themes, as with everybody's application.
Can I ask just something else then? Yeah. If we were to go with the other school in the area as a partnership, because they're also involved in the Sustrans scheme, but they no longer receive funding either. So if we were to go as like a shared community for the two schools outside the school area and get two sort of, that might help.
Well, definitely a collaborative kind of project would definitely kind of maybe improve the chances. Yeah. Somebody has popped into the chat here. You could look at every active funds with the council.
Hold on a second. Okay, yeah, I'll look at that. That's great. I know that we did try for funding through, I'm not sure if it was a small, I don't think it was a small grant, but it was through a different initiative and we were turned down. We weren't successful with it. It also does put you off a little bit because sometimes schools don't get the same, they don't have the same criteria as the outside community and things. So we really don't get the funding for a lot of things.
With the schools, like just in general, like with the schools projects, we would really love to see maybe some school projects who kind of maybe open up their school grounds beyond their traditional school hours. And like as we mentioned it in the earlier session that, like, you know, if a school applies for a polytunnel or a school garden and they're planting vegetables, most of the crop will probably come into like harvest time during the summer holidays whenever so if the project could be open to the public at certain times, that would be quite
well. We do open, we have a school sports hall that we open to the public at night time for hire. So there would be keep fit, fitness, netball club, cricket club, indoor football. People come down and hire our school hall for that in the evening times. Would I include that in the application? Would that help us?
Yeah, you should include as much collaboration and as much partnership working as you can in the application. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I might give you a ring somewhere along the line if that's okay.
That's no problem. Definitely do.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks. I can see Brian Kerr, you've got a thumbs up, so I don't know if you're just happy with us or if you have a question.
No, I have a question. It's just I can't find the hands up function here tonight on the selection. So every time I hit the thumbs up, it disappears about 5 seconds later. No, it's just a really quick question, and that was to find out: is there a set total of funding centrally, or is there a figure per council area or housing estate? In reality, it's a case of if we were to plan down around the Rathcoole area, is it a case of Antrim Newton Abbey Borough Council said they've got X amount for the area, or is there X amount for the estate, or is there X amount just nationally? So that's why I really just to understand what the criteria and the funding, and because that there will feed back into your selection process to take it, and that you've already stated that there would be somebody from the council on the sort of selection and approval process.
Yeah. So the way that the grants work is that each funder has their own pot of funding. So Antrim and Newton Abbey Antrim and Newton Abbey projects will only be funded by Antrim and Newton Abbey funding. So Andrews will only be, so then your projects will only be scored against like in comparison with other projects within your council area. Okay, so I hope that kind of makes sense. However, if you are in an area that's managed by the Northern Ireland Housing Executive, so whether that's a housing executive estate or like a housing executive housing, then there's also a Northern Ireland wide fund provided by the housing executive, but that's why it would then only go to houses or projects within those estates or those areas.
So on that point then, potentially then with Rathcoole being a housing executive estate, there's a potential then for access to two streams.
There's the potential, yeah, so whether if whatever one's judged first. So if it's not suitable for funding through the housing executive, your project will then be back into the pot, and then it may be suitable from the council funding.
Okay, thank you very much.
But you wouldn't, we would only have one funder for one project. They're never part funded by council and part funded by housing executive.
Yeah,
That's too much administration for me.
Yeah, no, the only reason I was asking was in the event that, say, for example, if the Antrim Newton Abbey Borough Council's money was allocated to some of the other programmes, you still have an opportunity then for the Central Housing Executive.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Nicola, Thomasina there's got her actual hand up, which is good old school. Put your actual hand up. So
that's brilliant. Sorry if I can only see so many on my screen, and I'm sorry I haven't flicked through. So apologies if you've had your hand up for a while there.
Hi. I don't know how to do the hand thing either, so that's why I just put my hand.
Oh, that's fine. We take any kind of hand signal. Don't worry, Thomasina.
Okay, so we're a community association, and we have our local community hall, and there's a yard at the back of the hall. Now the property is church owned, but we have a lease, and I've already asked for permission to be up the backyard. It's only all rough stone and weeds and stuff, and we're going to put a play area, and would we be eligible for funding for, the rubber safety ground cover, if we put up play equipment and stuff? And I know it is very expensive, obviously, and it actually will be more than what the grant, even the highest amount of £3,000 is still going to be above that. But obviously any money that we can get via the grant will help us achieve our goal to doing that. Is that something that we can?
Unfortunately, I don't really think something like that would be suitable. That would be, we would maybe even recommend that you contact the likes of Groundwork, because they would sometimes have bigger funding pots open for, like, I would kind of see that as maybe like a capital project for you're going to buy things like hard structured items.
Yeah, and it's open at the minute as well. So if you look on the Groundwork NI's website, they've got funding through White Mountain, and there's 2 levels, and my brain won't let me think. I think it's up to 3,000 is the first level, and then 3,000 to 10,000. I think that's right. But check out their website. Maybe that's not right. But it's certainly for capital projects like that. And the stuff you're talking about, it is obviously very expensive, and it would take quite a big chunk of this. So whenever people have asked, and they've asked in the chat about what gets covered, there are some kind of bigger ticket items that it will fund, but as long as it's part of a bigger community project. So if you were going to put down a small area of that and then do some planting, for example, so it's part of a bigger community project, then possibly it could be considered. But I think what you're talking about, it would cost a lot more, and I think that other funding would be more suitable for that. So do you want me to pop a wee link in the chat to it, or are you happy enough to look up?
Well, I just wrote down Groundwork NI.
Yeah,
so
and it's called White Mountain. It's the quarry up in is it North or West Belfast? West Belfast. So it's White Mountain funding they have, so you can check that out.
What do they do? We're County Antrim, although we're Mid-Ulster Council, but we're County Antrim address. Do they go up as far as us?
No, they don't. So they're only 10 miles within the quarry. You're absolutely right. Yeah. So just scribble that if you're not in that area. That's a good point. I give with one hand and take it away with the other. Sorry.
But the like of our project, obviously it's community based. It's our volunteers that's going to be actively involved in getting it all ready and sorted, and it's for the children in the community. And obviously clearing the ground and environmental side of it as well, and health and well-being. So does that still doesn't come in under yourselves?
No, but Anita here has put in the chat, there isn't one for awards for all, which is a good idea. I think it's around 10k, and it's a really good one to get as a good kind of starter grant. So look up, it's the lottery one, awards for all. and it would cover your area as well. So and everything you've just said there that would be perfect.
Okay,
thank you. Thank you. Was it Anita? Thank you for putting that in where Anita is. Thank you.
Hi.
Nicola, can I just go back to the housing executive areas in Causey Coast and Glens? Heather's asked if parents and pupils are from a housing executive area, then does the school qualify?
I would say if the majority of the pupils, if the majority of the people that would be benefiting or using the project are from a housing executive area, I would view that as you'd be eligible to tick that box that it's going to benefit people in a housing executive area. If you want, maybe you could maybe just give us a wee call and we could check maybe with the funder just before you do put the time and effort in. So if you want to drop into the chat your details and we'll follow up on that one.
Great. Peter Maxwell has a question and Henry McCourt has his hand up as well.
McQuinn, your thumbs up in as well.
Oh, another one.
Let's go to Henry McCourt.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Harry McCourt from Ardress. This is the first time that I've been on this type of Zoom meeting, but very informative. My question today is, we are a local community. We generate an awful lot of waste. Our roads are littered with waste, and we've done a number of pickups in the area. Will the grant cover a community recycling scheme, for argument's sake, recycling, composting of different waste, recovering the different plastics?
I think that would be something that would be quite innovative and something quite exciting. And yeah, I think an application like that would be welcome to see something like that this year.
That's very good, because I've been locked down here for the last 12 months. I've been taking the bins down to the gate. Now, I already have started some recycling of the glass, and I'm building a domestic composting system. But I think it could be spread out to the local area here, and we could reduce the waste greatly going to the landfills.
Yeah, great. That sounds lovely. So it does. So definitely, I think take a wee bit of time, and if you can get a wee application put in.
Thank you very much. Very good.
Thank you.
Brilliant. It's your first meeting, Henry, and you smashed it out of the park. Well done. You have a great idea. Fair play to you.
Thank you very much.
We'll go to Emma Quinn next.
Hello, thank you. Just in relation, I suppose, hello, Brian. Brian's from Rathcoole there, and we're in Rathcoole Primary School. So hopefully we don't overlap here a little bit. I suppose it was just in relation really to the school, where we're a forest school and outdoor learning. We've just got a new garden with Live Life Love here. But we would really love to extend out to the community, maybe with the polytunnel, the composting, but it would probably need to be on the school site, but be accessible as much as we can. Is that something that could be included in this type of application? Obviously there will be certain restrictions to that, but
I think we're looking like we're ending this session on a high, because yes, that's another great idea of a project. So if the project could be open up,
yeah,
there's another project, another school in Antrim, Ballycraigie Primary School.
Yeah.
I know that a couple of years ago when I was more in touch with them, they had a really great weekend gardening club for the parents.
Lovely.
And so something like that would be quite
yeah,
interesting to see.
Yeah, we've lots of ground there that we'd really love to extend in and sort of grow, and again, beekeeping, something that one of our staff has just taken up that we would love to invest in as well. We've huge space there, but obviously it needs to be very much part of the community. Right, okay, I'll think about how we reword that, and perhaps Brian, if there's anything there that we can help each other with, a double whammy in for the awards, we might be able to do that then. Great, thanks very much.
Collaboration, brilliant.
Yes, Emma, Karen's sitting beside me here, so give her a shout.
No problem. Hi, Karen. Thank you.
Emma, Mary Henderson was on the Zoom this afternoon, so we're meeting with her too.
not this Friday, following Friday. So we'll get in touch with you anyway, because that'll be all the groups then together.
Super, lovely, great, thank you. Thanks very much.
So sorry, I'll cut in there then, because this is me just being cheeky. In the event where we were able to come together with several community groups around, we would be able to pull together an overall program for the likes of a complete area. So those that don't know, the Rathcoole Estate's the size of most small towns and villages, numbers wise of people. So therefore we would be able to work as a community groups and organizations to pull together a full understanding of that. As my phone goes. If that makes sense. So in other words, although the limit there is between 500 and 3,000, if we were to turn around to say, okay, well, here's a program for the complete area of 3, 5, 10 groups, could we put together a full program to cover a major part of Yanton Newton Abbey Borough Council area?
I would say that you can either tackle it in two ways. So either as, yes, one project and touch upon everything, and you could go for the higher amount as long as, like, you know, it demonstrates the real value, which I can imagine that would. Or you would then go down, put in different funds. I think maybe for the like, you know, the art of collaboration and everything, maybe go for the one application with touching on all the different groups and all the different people that will benefit. Yeah.
Spot on. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Who was next? Did you mention Peter Maxwell? Did you have a question?
Yes, indeed, Nicola. As you know, we do work on the Newport Down Canal, and that covers 2 separate council areas. So should we put in the same application twice from 2 different addresses, or should we split the application into 2 separate ones and send each half from a different address?
I would recommend doing the 2 separate applications, and whether if there's something that you wanted in one council area, and then if there was something else that could come from the second one. Karina's also sat on the judging panel discussions. So would you be thinking that as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
2 separate applications.
Yeah, I would think the 2 separate.
Because groups can make more than one application, so there'd be no harm in doing that. They wouldn't. So
no. Yeah, I think that would be the best way to do it, with the you know, if you had varied elements coming, like one going to one council area and one going to the other. Yeah, because if then say the same project was awarded funding in the 2 council areas, then we would have to make sure that we would then say what was funded by one and what wasn't funded in the other. Yeah.
Okay, that's grand. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Then we will go to somebody. I think someone else did have their hand up. I can see Mary. We will go for a while, Mary,
and then Mary.
Yeah, we'll go to Claire Hughes first.
Hi, thanks very much. This is wonderful. This is my first time on here as well. I'm representing Castle Caulfield Horticultural Society, and whilst I come on with absolutely no agenda whatsoever, this really inspired me. We have a conservation area in the village which really came out really well in all our awards, our Ulster in Bloom, our Britain in Bloom, our International in Bloom. And I have evidence to show that it was a really good area for parents and their children to visit, because we come up with the idea, if you come into the woods today, you're in for a big surprise. And we did a lovely teddy bears area. Now, the problem with the teddy bears was it was great until it rained, and then they had soggy bottoms. So I had to keep bringing them to, and luckily one of the local filling stations that had the big washing machines washed them for us. But I mean, my home is now coming down with about 100 teddy bears that are sitting in a spare room because of COVID. And I would really love to go out there again. And I had thought, first of all, that we needed a shelter with the trees to cover these. But just tonight, I'm thinking with COVID restrictions and all the rest of it, would there be any possibility that this would cover a grant for us to do like a shed with like a glass area so that the children could come to view these teddy bears through glass, and also then whenever COVID restrictions are all gone, that it could be used as a reading area? Or do you think that's some other grant funding that I should be going after?
Well, firstly, I hope you are all social distancing with the teddy bears in your house. Whenever you were talking about that, I kind of got the idea of would it be good if you could, if you've ever seen those wee book nooks or like little community libraries that
we have that already.
Could you maybe do something that could be lend a TED, so the teddy bears could form part of that, where they're in maybe this cabinet and that could be part of it. But then I would then start thinking about the environmental like elements of that kind of project.
But it's because it brings we have bird boxes and we have bug hotels and all in this conservation area. And we also did, we have eco bodies that come and they work at this area. So to me, I mean, I went down yesterday and took a video of it, and I just thought, oh my goodness, like it's so overgrown again because it's getting no attention. But here is an area that we can bring children to, that's in the fresh air, that is teaching them, we've got hedgehog things, we've got birds, we've got cameras in the trees. So to me, the conservation, the whole thing is to bring the children, is to give them another reason to come. And it's also visible from the roadside. So when you're driving by this and you look down, we have all these benches and we have 50 teddy bears all sitting with a daddy teddy bear with a book in its hand, reading to the rest of them. And I'm just wondering, how can we do this? Because it's too big a job at the minute to get wet. It's not nice if the children go and they touch with teddy bears and stuff like that. So is there any way we can get grant funding to make this accessible, with the whole thing of attracting these children to a conservation area?
Yeah, and like again, my mind does go back to the like as you called it, like maybe like a shed where they would sit, but could it be like somewhere where they could come and that either look at them or take the teddies out and go for a walk around. Maybe each of the birds could have something around its neck to kind of show you like certain leaves to look out for on the trail, or different things that like foraged berries that birds would eat. Yeah.
So do you think it would come under this grant scheme?
It could possibly be. It's something we've certainly never had before.
I mean, the money that I would be looking for there is, first of all, as I said, I thought some sort of like, I don't know, I'm saying the word right, tarpaulin or whatever, but yeah. I'm just thinking that it would be more permanent if we could have, if I could get a shed that had glass area that could be used for the storytelling, for the children to come to hear stories when things, and at least there's a bit of shelter if it's a bad day,
Yeah, I definitely think something creative, something linking it back to the environment, and because there is the community benefit definitely in there. I know Bob has been successful through funding through the grant scheme before, so might want to touch base with him just to see if
I don't worry, it'll be him that'll be doing it.
Brilliant.
We know that. Yeah, okay, no, that you think we could make it tick the boxes, okay?
If yous are creative, and if it definitely think about the community and the environmental impact, and whether it's health and the health and well-being. So with all projects, keep bringing them back to the objectives of the grant scheme. Yeah, but brilliant to have some like really different creative ideas out there. Fabulous, thank you.
Yeah, well, I think we also have the evidence. We've got the photographs and all to show, we've got the comments of the judges about it. We've got the photographs of people, the children that were actually standing with the teddy bear, so we have a bit of evidence to show, look, this works. What our problem is our weather.
You've got a fan in the chat. Anita's popped in saying, could it be converted to a greenhouse afterwards? Positive emotions on the bears and that would help with the children, to help them build empathy and emotions and things like that, because children have been severely impacted by COVID.
Very much so.
So helping their resilience and recovery would be vital. Excellent. Okay, we'll move on now.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mary, we'll get you now whenever you're not paying attention. Yeah.
It always happens in Zoom.
And thank you everyone for staying with us. We're now half an hour behind our schedule. Thank you.
Nicola, I just want to ask, I was with a wee school and they were signposted to us TCV and in connection with a polytunnel. No, I don't think the school's opened after hours or anything, but maybe that's something that could be no further discussed, or know how like Ballycraigie School, like they do the weekends or that. But they're after a polytunnel and they are doing no different work outside, and the council are on board because it was the council that actually signposted them to us. And that, so would they be, because know how sometimes with schools they can't apply because of whatever reasons, or no, would that be something they could go for?
It definitely it could be, but yeah, so you would really want them to like be engaging with the wider community, and if they're getting like a polytunnel, to like try to show some examples of where they're bringing them in. If they have applied before and they got the funding for the polytunnel, and then they must have demonstrated in their application that there is either plans in place to engage with others, or maybe the things that they're growing or utilizing from their polytunnel is going to benefit others. In some way. So there must have been some sort of like
sorry, maybe I didn't make myself clear. They've no go a polytunnel. This is they're looking, and no, they're looking for assistance. I've only met them. I went out to do a wee site visit and see what they want to do. As I say, they've already been doing work. They have the eco schools and everything, and the kids take no responsibility, no and ownership for their school and rubbish. And I did mention the Terra park and all that, and yourselves, live here, love here. But that's no, just to be able to go back with some information to them to say, well, maybe if you get an application together, and would it be possible, no, as you say, invite the community in, but maybe if that was no like a workshop kind of basis, just even maybe to start opening it up like other schools do, with weekend gardening with parents and stuff.
There's also another great one called Pond Park. They have a great eco committee, and I think their Pond Park Eco Club has a Facebook page as well, and like they're within a housing estate, and it shows like how they open the school grounds up to allow the community to use the various facilities in the school, and I think the eco garden is one of them. Yeah, and I think even getting children and parents like planting together, like, you know, that could be a really positive thing as well.
So see, even though a show evidence, no, like maybe even because the weather is fine, or no, like I've offered them sessions, maybe even suggested them, maybe do one or two to get the parents, come bring your parent to plant, so they could maybe progress to make application for a polytunnel.
Yeah, and yeah, that could be good. And even if it was like, you know, getting people to plant something in the school, can they then take something home to plant it at home? So then they're maybe growing things in the school and they're also growing the same things at home.
Okay.
I don't know, just try to be inventive and imaginative whenever it comes to something that will make those links whenever it's difficult to make those links, like, you know, within the school, whenever there's like, you know, school grounds are so regulated. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mary. We'll go over to David Stokes.
I have a couple of ideas for our group. Would the likes of bat boxes and hedgehog hotels be okay to put on?
Yep, lovely. This is back to the positive like end for the session. Fabulous, yes.
It's also where I'm thinking of putting them is in Glasson and Braden Glen. We have bats and other animals in there. It's sort of an area of scientific interest. So would we have to contact the council about that or anything?
Yeah, I would suggest that you would. Haven't actually heard from the Glasson and Braden Conservation Group for a while, but I know that there is a group within within that forest, and that they received funding a number of years ago, but it'd be definitely good to link in, and especially if there are like bats and stuff, so like you're aware that they're like protected and everything, so you would definitely need to link in with the biodiversity officer in the council.
Well, Maryville Garden Village, we actually own half of the glen on our part of the side, and then the down to the river. So it's actually Ulster Garden Villages who would own that at the moment. So they're aware of what we're planning to do, but maybe talk to the council as well.
No, I would definitely take advice from the council, because regardless of the land ownership.
Yeah, no, that's grand.
It's just good to get a bit of advice from them, definitely. Yeah.
The other question I have is, we're thinking of doing a couple of different things. We have an old field boundary called Lovers Lane, which is sort of quite worn, and we're thinking of planting new hedging, because the field boundary's been there for 170 years. We're just trying to upgrade that. That would account for as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so definitely like hedging, things like that would be good.
What's for biodiversity as well?
Yeah, the biodiversity. What some groups have actually gone down that New Mills group that we talked about earlier. They've put in like an edible hedging, so fruit bushes and like apple trees along their hedging as well. I feel like I'm probably going to say the wrong species and things, but yeah, so like fruit bushes.
Yeah, we're thinking of trying to the hedging sort of more for the wildlife as well.
Yeah, that would be really good. I would definitely suggest getting in touch with the biodiversity officer in the council, and they should be able to give some guidance on that as well.
Brilliant, thank you.
Yeah, we would recommend you planted native trees, David, all the different species. So that's what Nicola's saying. Either edible or native, because they're both best for wildlife, and that's what we like to see. Brilliant. Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry to come in with a bit of a downer on that there, whenever you just whenever you mentioned.
No, sorry, Brian, the meeting's finished.
Is it? Oh, so what do you know is that just a bit for you, the feedback there on the likes of you mentioned about the trees and things you got there. One of the things to caution is whenever you're talking about whether fruit trees, I know some of the councillors, whenever you touch base with them on it, and you mentioned likes of apples and pears, they're always reluctant to see them get into where there's areas of antisocial behaviour, because they become missiles.
Yeah.
So that's why it may sound a bit of a downer. So just watch if you're thinking about planning something like that you get some wee upstart that maybe wants some missiles to throw about the places where you don't want them throwing stuff. So pick some small for the birds to eat, enough for some idiot to throw it. If it makes sense.
No, that's a great idea. Thank you.
That's good advice, Brian. Thank you.
That's like, if you see, Brian, that's a perfect example. Like, you know your areas more than we do. We're here giving advice, but I don't know what each of your little corners like. So definitely you know what'll work in your local area, and you know it best. So yeah, you use our guidance sparingly. I don't know. Yeah.
Brilliant. Check for any hands. Is everybody happy enough then? Have we answered all your questions? You can still get in touch. There's email addresses there in the chat if there's anything that we haven't answered. Or when you start your application, if there are any other further questions you want to ask, please get in touch between now and the 10th of May. And we'll do our best to advise. And it was lovely to see you all tonight. We had great numbers there and great chat. Thank you very much for that. I feel like I could talk to you all night, but I suppose we'll all have to go at some point. And thank you very much. And thank you for the questions and participating.
Yeah,
because it also helps us know who's out there and what people are looking to apply for. And when you ask a question, you probably answer the question for other people too. So thank you very much. And if nobody has any questions, we'll call it an evening and let you go and enjoy the rest of. It's getting dark now, so you won't be gardening. But thank you very much for joining us. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.